I'm Lyle Clinton, and I'm from Woodford Honey. I run a small bee operation in Woodford. We don't sell to markets or anything like that. We only sell via the front door. And how they do it is when they collect the nectar from the plants, they take it into their stomach, and bees have two stomachs. One's a stomach that you and I have, and they have what they call a honey stomach or a honey gut. And what happens is the nectar is transported or taken into the honey gut and is transported back to the hive. And from there, it's actually given to another bee. So it's actually regurgitated from that gut to another bee, and they add an enzyme to it. And that enzyme starts a reaction. Now the reaction basically is that the water content within the nectar is reduced from 100% down to 18 or 21%. And once that happens, the bees automatically know that water content is exactly right. And then they put a wax capping over the honey, because it is now honey, it's been turned into honey. They put a wax capping over it, and what that does, it actually it just keeps the honey from falling out of the cells, and it also keeps it fresh. Yeah. And it doesn't have a use-by date. They found honey in Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old, and you can still put it on your bread and butter. And what we do is, once those frames are full, and they weigh about 2 kilos each, we remove the frames, we shake the bees off, and then we take it into our shed. And we have a hot electric knife, and we actually remove that wax capping off the top. It's only a very thin film. We remove it, and that exposes all the honey. Then we put it into a spinner, an extractor, and turn it on, and we spin it out. And then it just falls down the side of the extractor into another bucket, and then we filter it out with just what they call nylon filters. Gets all the little wax particles and everything out, and then we put it in a jar. So what you're getting as a product, you're getting a product that's got pollen inside it. It's got the honey in it. It might have a few bees' legs in it or whatever. All good for you. But it's all what's in it is pretty much unprocessed honey. And so we call it raw honey. And it's what we think as hobbyist beekeepers, we think the raw honey is a better product than what you buy from the supermarket. Yeah. All right. Normally it varies from season to season, and it varies throughout the season. In the wintertime, bee numbers are not low, but they become stagnant because the queen bee inside the hive, they tend not to lay during the winter months. They only lay a small amount of bees, because in the winter time, because there's not a lot of food around, you don't need a huge workforce. So in the winter time, they tend to the queen slows her laying rate down. The bees that are in the hive, their lifespan is a lot longer because they're not working as hard, because a bee only has a lifespan of about 4 weeks in the summer months. But in the winter months, they can have a lifespan of about 6 to 8 weeks, because they're not going out every day foraging because they don't need to. The lifespan of a queen can be anything up to about 5 years. We cull them, basically. What we do is we find the old queen and we remove her from the hive, and we kill her, basically, and we replace her with a new one.
Where do you get the new queen from?
Through the mail.
Through the mail?
Through the mail, yeah. We ring. There are guys out there who actually breed queens. That's what they do. They're beekeepers, but they actually breed queen bees. So we just ring them up and say, listen, can you send me a couple of queen bees of a particular breed? And they said, yes, I've got a couple here. And they put them in the post for you in a little cage, a little plastic cage, and they throw them. And you get them within a couple of days, express post. And every hive can only survive with one queen.
But how many babies does she have?
In a year? Well, I'll put it this way: in her lifespan, over say 5 years, she can lay up to probably 1.5 million to 2 million eggs. Well, actually, normally in spring they mate, and you know what a swarm is. A swarm of bees. Okay, well, bees in the spring, they swarm for a reason. They swarm because they're looking for a new home, because the home that they've had over the last 12 months is getting very congested. There's not a lot of room in there anymore, because all the bees have suddenly built up from winter into spring. They're getting very strong. The queen's starting to lay eggs again, and all of a sudden there's a lot of congestion in the hive, and there's no room. So the old queen wants to leave. She said, I've got to go. I've got to find a new home. So what she does is she goes around the hive and she lays about a dozen eggs, and all these eggs will become new queens. And the workers know that, and they feed them royal jelly for about 10 days of their first part of their life. They feed them with royal jelly, and then once those bees are about to hatch, these new queens, and they take about 16 days to hatch, after about 10 or 12 days, she says, well, it's time to go. So what she does, she basically sort of tells the other bees, right, it's time to go, and as long as it's a nice sunny day, she flies out, and half the workforce, they go with her. Now, if you've got quite a very strong active hive of about 60,000 bees, that can mean anywhere between 25 to 30,000 bees will fly off with her, and they will produce their own hive, another hive. So they just go out there and they will start again. And then what you've got back here in your parent hive or in your old hive is you've got a new queen coming through, and the old part of, or the rest of the workforce that were left behind. But what happens is, because you've got about a dozen new queens that are about to hatch, it's the first one out wins. Yeah, so the queens have a stinger, but unlike a worker bee, where their worker bee's stingers are barbed, where a queen's bee is just like a syringe. So they can use it, and it doesn't. Whereas a worker bee, once they use it, that's it, they die. Whereas the queen won't. She'll just sting, and the barb comes straight out, or the stingers come straight out, and no harm to her. So what she does is she'll go around and she'll find all those other queens that are still in their cocoons, and she kills them all. And she becomes the new head of the household, basically. Right, so that's basically my business in a nutshell. A bit of a sweet taste to it. Yeah, I am a bit of a sweet person. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. So.